Hey guys, Ed from Paranormal Inc. Ohio here, back at it again with another podcast episode. Tonight's podcast episode is going to be about the Hatman. I'm going to tell you the origins of the Hatman. I'm going to tell you what medical science thinks it is, and I'm going to read you some stories of different people that have come in contact with the Hatman. So with that being said, let's jump right in. And again, guys, I'm going to read this from all my research that I found, whether it be in books or the internet. And the stories that I tell you from the encounters are not from me. They're actually from other people that have either blogged about it or, talked about their experience with the Hatman. So, we are going to start this out with who is the Hatman. Tales of things that go bump in the night are often met with skepticism, but one nightmarish figure keeps cropping up in reports from all around the world. Numerous people claim to have woken in the dark to find a shadowy figure dubbed the Hatman looming over them. The phenomenon has attracted widespread attention, inspiring documentaries on the subject and the launch of a dedicated blog, The Hatman Project, where people can share their experiences. It is not a new phenomenon. For about as long as written records have existed, people have described a frightening nighttime vision that paralyzes them with fear and seems to suck the breath right out of them, often by pressing directly upon their chest. The entity has stalked human beings throughout history, not merely within a particular society or during a specific time, says Shelley Adler in her book Sleep Paralysis, Nightmares, Nosebos, and the Mind-Body Connection. Adler became interested in the way nightmares differ across cultures after reading about the unusual nocturnal deaths of several ethnic Hmong refugees who had immigrated to the United States from Laos. In a 4-year period from the late 1970s to the early 1980s, 18 otherwise healthy young Hmong men who had moved to the United States died suddenly in their sleep. Over the next decade, nearly 100 more deaths followed, all with a similar profile. Doctors gave the condition a name: sudden, unexpected, unexplained nocturnal death syndrome, or SUNS. However, further research conducted in the decades since has concluded that SUNS deaths may have a different root cause, known as Brugada syndrome, a genetic condition which affects people of Southeast Asia descent, typified by irregular heartbeats. Excuse me. And as with the spate of cases which interested Adler, an increase in the risk of sudden death. Moving her attention to the Philippines, Thailand, Laos, and other places where such deaths were more common, Adler found that the syndrome had a different name, which roughly translates to nightmare or nightmare death syndrome. Hoping to better understand the visions associated with the syndrome, Adler interviewed Hmong refugees living in Stockton, California. The group all testified to experiencing common nightmares, which featured a figure they called Dab Tsog, a malevolent force that came during the night, pressing on a victim's chest and attempting to suffocate them. Almost all of those Adler interviewed were familiar with Dab Tsog, and 58% of them said they had experienced a visitation themselves. But the Hmong were not the first group to have such a record of such visitations. Among the Canadian Inuit, the word Unicquamarquin, I probably destroyed that word altogether. I'm going to go ahead and spell it for you guys. UquumanGirniq. Okay, describes it this awake but paralyzed feeling, while the Japanese call it kanashabari. I think I got that one right for once, guys. In the field of sleep research, this experience is termed sleep paralysis. An individual, in the process of falling asleep or awakening, finds himself or herself completely awake but unable to move or speak. Frequently, he or she sees a shadowy or indistinct shape approaching and becomes increasingly terrified. Sleep paralysis is a common occurrence that, according to a 2011 U.S. study, affects almost 8% of people regularly. Dr. Alan Avidian director of the Sleep Disorder Center at University of California, Los Angeles, told them that visions of spiders and insects are also common among sufferers. What they're seeing is very real to them, and they're reacting to the image in a way that seems to be very similar across individuals, across cultures, and across geographics. Some experts say the idea of the Hatman may be subconscious reworkings of figures from popular culture, including popular horror films in recent times. When I sat and thought about that, the Hatman, the thing that came to my mind was Freddy Krueger from the film A Nightmare on Elm Street, said Christopher French, a psychology professor at Goldsmith University of London. This notion that you can be attacked when you're asleep, that's when you're vulnerable. And of course, Krueger wears a hat. But a 2017 paper by leading neuroscientist Baland Jalal and V.S. Ramachandran, I probably destroyed that, guys. Again, I'll spell it for you, Ramachandran, proposed neurological theories for why some people hallucinate shadowy figures during sleep paralysis. Rapid eye movement, REM sleep, often creates the most emotionally charged dreams to our brain. Paralysis, our body, to ensure we don't hurt ourselves. Sometimes we wake up mentally while still under the spell of REM paralysis. And the vivid, sometimes terrifying dreams of REM sleep can spill over into emerging wakefulness. The two scientists conclude they theorize that the part of the brain responsible for processing the body map and self is disturbed, often resulting in the dreamer projecting a human-like figure. So there's a backstory of the Hatman. They think it's sleep paralysis. Among different cultures, they think it's a demon and another sickness. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tell some stories about the Hatman, about people's encounters with the Hatman. So, Anonymous writes, yes, he is real. Of course, some people will say no, as they've never seen or heard of him. I was 10 years old, sitting in my parents' living room when we had a big joined room about 60 by 18 in Charleston, South Carolina. I was watching Star Trek late that night, around 11 and 12. I felt someone watching me and looked left across the long room by my parents' bathroom door, and there was a man about 7 feet tall, skinny, wearing a black suit and a black brim hat. He had a white beard and he was very skinny. His face, what I could see, was skin and bone. Thin, he just stood there, staring at me. I ran to my room across the house. I've seen people on the side of the road or standing in windows, staring, auroras, moving shadows, and had many experiences of extreme sudden cold or things moving in my life. Unfortunately, my kids deal with this now. I worked very hard to ignore the feelings and sights until they lessened. Another anonymous writer puts, I can't believe that other people seen the same thing. In 2012, when I was in elementary school, I used to live in an apartment on the second floor, and I remember one day when I got home from school around 4 or 5ish, still sunny outside, home by myself, I was watching TV, and I seen the Hatman. Shadow looked like a shadow of a man in a trench coat, wearing a fedora, on my wall next to the TV, by the window, in the living room. And I didn't really get freaked out at the time because it was daylight. But after a year or two, when I thought back, I started to realize how weird it was. I always think about it every once in a while, thinking, how was it even possible? I'm getting crazy goosebumps reading these stories of everyone else's encounters with the Hatman. I wonder now if I would freak out, what would have happened when I seen him. I didn't really pay it any mind, and the shadow just kind of walked off towards the window. So we will go to our last statement. And guys, I'm reading this as they've been written, and a lot of these people write this stuff on here, and they don't use quotation marks, they don't use commas, they don't use period, they use no, nothing like that. It's just like a big block of text. And I'm trying to read this, and that's why when you hear me go, I'm thinking there's going to be a period or a comma, and there's not. So hopefully this last one will be good. I know the other two were very good. All right, so let's go. This is an absolutely true story from when I was very young, and one of the few brushes with the paranormal I've ever had. I must have been no older than 3 or 4. Because this occurred at home. My family and I moved out, and shortly after I was that age, I only have this and a select few other memories of living there. I was lying in my bed, which was lengthwise on the game wall as the door into the room, which was right at the foot of my bed. The hall light was on, so there was a bit of light that shined through the door. I wasn't fully asleep yet when I heard a noise, and opened my eyes to see what was going on. There, standing in the hallway light from the door, was a black figure that appeared to be a man, with what looked like a fedora-type hat on. I could clearly see arms and legs, which aside from the hat is why I assumed it was male. The figure was darker than dark, a full matte shadow. He had no facial features, save for 2 holes in his face, where eyes are supposed to be. The weird thing about the eyes was that they were just holes in his head, and the light from the hallway shone straight through them. He was standing right at the foot of my bed, facing towards me. I was raised on scary movies and remember thinking it was Freddy Krueger in my room. It just lay there, and I started to stare at it, completely shocked and terrified. What scared me more than seeing him was the awful feeling the presence evoked. It was more than fear. It felt like everything good had left the room, leaving only him and me. When I finally did move, it was to throw the covers up over my head. I closed my eyes and prayed that whatever it was would go away. My heart was beating like crazy. I feared he was going to hurt or kill me. When I removed the blanket and timidly opened one eye to see if the figure was still there, I was relieved to see that he had gone away. The only person I told about it was my mom, years later. She told me my father had probably wandered into my room, drunk or something, so I blew it off and lived the rest of my life believing that I must have been dreaming and didn't tell anyone else what happened. Then one day I was at a paranormal panel at an anime convention, and someone brought up what they called shadow people. If you don't already know about shadow people, they're speculated to be interdimensional beings, bad omens, guardian angels, or even demons. It all depends on who you talk to. I didn't know anything about them at the time, and thought they sounded really creepy. A few people shared their personal experiences, and the thing that struck me the most deeply was most everyone who has seen these shadow people reported that they were wearing some kind of hat, from the top hat to Zorro-style hats, and even full hoods. There was one other person in the room who said he'd seen a fedora-type hat-wearing man at the foot of his bed when he was young as well as me. This was all before I had said a single word about my experience. I had a short conversation with him after the panel and told him I'd had the exact same thing happen to me. He asked me if anything bad had happened to me after I saw him, because his experience were supposed to be bad omens from what he was told, and he had some bad omens afterwards. I told him not that I could remember. He then told me his parents had separated after he saw the Hatman in the room. We ended up going our separate ways, and I kept thinking about what he said. Later that night it hit me. The reason my mother, sisters, and I moved out of the house I saw the Hatman in was because my father was an abusive alcoholic, and my mother took us and left soon after I'd seen him. They got a divorce shortly after. Since then, I've done tons of research on shadow people and the Hatman, who has been seen by thousands of people in similar situations to mine. But there's no conclusive evidence as to who they are, why they're here, and whether or not they're malevolent. So maybe they come here from their dimension to warn us. And maybe Fedora Guy's specialty is watching over broken homes. Maybe they're demons and are the cause of 4 bad omens they have become a unanimous sign of. Or they could be aliens watching the human race and manifesting as humanoids with hats on so they don't seem too strange to us. Maybe they watch all of us every single day, and only a few people open their eyes when the time is right to see them. I've never seen him nor any other shadow person since that night. Maybe that's a good thing, I guess. We'll never know. Those are some stories of the Hatman. I don't believe shadow people and the Hatman are aliens. I don't believe that they're guardians. I think they're evil. I do. I've heard lots of stories from around the world that people have wrote in saying that they see the Hatman before something tragic happens. Almost like the Mothman. How you would see the Mothman and something tragic would happen. Well, these people say they dream of the Hatman and someone in their family dies. Or they dream of the Hatman or see the Hatman and something happens to them soon after. So I believe the Hatman is demonic. I believe he's here. I believe he's evil. And I believe he's going after certain people. I mean, it can't be a coincidence that it's not just how, when I was telling you the origin of the Hatman, they thought it was just based in Southeast Asia. Well, then they found out it was in Canada. Then they found out it was in the United States. And they found out it was in Japan. It's all around the world. So yes, I believe the Hatman is very evil and is coming after us in our dreams. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. I love doing the research for it. Again, sorry it sounded weird when I was reading it. They didn't have any punctuation marks at all through the whole thing. So I was trying to just get through to where I thought a sentence was ending or a comma would be. So, again, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Thank you oh so very much for coming and checking it out. Remember, guys, I have subscriptions now. You can subscribe to me for $2.99 a month, and you get some unheard things that doesn't come on here, and you get your own very special episodes made that are not put on here for the public to hear. So if you guys want to, go ahead and subscribe. You don't have to at all, period. I don't care if you do, and I don't care if you don't. So I want you guys to be happy, and this is why I do this, is for you guys. So I'm just giving you that option. I was told and got a notification saying I could start subscriptions. You know, it'd be cool if you did. Again, it's cool if you're not. So I hope you guys keep listening. I hope you guys keep enjoying these episodes. I love you guys oh so very much, and you will hear from me tomorrow night. Thanks. Bye, everyone.